I know, like, usually what I'll say to you guys during this time is like, hey, listen, if you want to check out, if you're tired, whatever, then here's the bottom line for today. Here's what I'm going to ask you to do today. Don't check out. All right? I want you engaged on the things that we're going to say today. Okay? So just stick in. It's shorter. My sermon is shorter. So maybe that'll help. But just kind of hang in with me. We've been reading James all year almost. Gosh, except for Easter and the weeks leading up to that. But we are finishing up James chapter 4 today, and then I'm going to do some stuff on James chapter 5 in the next couple of weeks. James chapter 4, starting in verse 13, says this. Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you don't even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You're a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it's the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil. If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it's sin for them. So March 1st of 2020, we opened the doors of Highlands Church on a Sunday morning for the first time. Who was there? I was there for sure. Yeah, I know you were there. Yeah. All right. We talked that morning about the incredible plans we had for the future. Right? 2 weeks later, I don't know if you remember, 2 weeks later, we experienced the truth of you do not know what tomorrow will bring in a way that was more meaningful than any in my lifetime. With the coronavirus and the shutdown of pretty much everything and the relearning what it meant to have life and interaction, and for us, for me, what it meant to be the church in a day-to-day way. And so right when we started, we stopped. But we didn't stop. Over the next 6 months, Highlands became a food bank for the community for the most part. And some of you participated in that. We would open up our doors. We took in food from the Atlanta Food Bank. We would set it up in our space until they caught us. And people would come by as family units, and they would pack bags. And then I would go up and I would load them into school buses, and they would go out to the community. And that's how we had church for about 6 months. And then we handed that off, and then that went on and on and on, and it still goes on and on and on. I actually see it every Tuesday night when I drive to Two Birds to play trivia. I see it happening at a local church near us that took it over. Right? Later in 2020, as we tried to understand how to come back together, a church so new that we didn't really have many practices to come back to, if I'm honest. We were told that the building in which we were subletting our space that we had paid for through the shutdown and that we were starting to think, okay, we're finally going to meet in, we were told that that building was being sold and we would have to move. So for the next 18 months, we bounced around locations. Raise your hand if you came with us to the Brickyard. Anybody do the Brickyard? Right? Yeah, okay. Remember that? We had a beautiful Christmas Eve service at the Brickyard where it snowed. It was really cool. We came here to Laurel Park. Some of you guys came here with us to Laurel Park. Tell me if you remember this one. This is the one people seem to block out in their memories when I talk to them. The Venue. You guys remember the Venue? Yeah, you were with us at the Venue. That was that weird kind of white next to the funeral home building that we used that kind of partnered with the funeral home and us. I don't know what that says. And then we finally, after a lot of debate and argument, some with the landlords, ended up in the Clock Tower Village at 999 Whitlock Avenue. And then after 3 years there, we realized it didn't reflect who we felt called to be. And you courageously made the leap to Two Birds Tap House. Again, we did not know what tomorrow would bring. We've had people and practices in all this time that have felt like a mist, appearing for a little while and then vanishing. Remember the comedy nights that all somehow went sideways on me? I ended up just giving those to the wait staff at Two Birds. It seems to work better for them than for family time at church. We've had people like you who have formed the backbone and the heart of who we are today, which, if we're honest, is not who we were before March of 2020. It is not who we were when we were sitting in a room back at Stonebridge Church talking about who we would be. Right? We don't know what tomorrow brings. And a little over a year ago, March of 2025, I started asking questions not about who we were supposed to be, but about who we are. Questions that the admin team and their families joined me in asking. And most of these questions centered around an observation that I'd had. Highlands excelled at being the church over the last 5 years. I think we've excelled at being the church as much, if not more, than other places that I've ever been at or seen. But Highlands also struggled at being a church. And what I mean is this. Highlands is an incredible community. We are incredible at knowing each other, caring for each other, investing in each other, and not just in like a temporal way, in an eternal way. Meals you've made for each other. Meals you've received from each other. Prayers back and forth. Worship, times together, service to the community. We excel. But the organizational pieces, financial structures, volunteer-based, replicable discipleship structures, long-term staff health, growth numerically, and maturing organizationally. If you don't care about any of those, that's what I mean when I say organizationally, right? That's the stuff kind of under the hood sometimes. What I was noticing was we just couldn't seem to get traction. Even in 5 years of meeting, we couldn't get traction. So over the past year, we, the leadership of Highlands, myself, Christy, the admin team, we've been examining this. Along the way, we've shared with you about what we've discovered, particularly when it involves looking at changes. And we've also reached outside our church to other churches we are in relationship with to help us ask these questions, to provide particular answers. And specifically, we have leaned on the relationship we have with the church that planted us. Some of you know that church, some of you don't. The church that planted us is Stonebridge Church. It meets down on Tower Road near the hospital. That's the church we planted out of. That's the church that my former boss and now my colleague in ministry, David Eldridge, leads. And he and I meet together. You may not know this. We have lunch together once a month. We've had lunch together pretty much once a month since I left. And so we've leaned on them and asked them questions. Here's a couple of conclusions that we've reached. First, our strength as a church is community. Again, we probably do it better than anybody in any church I've ever been a part of. And I'll be honest with you guys, that kind of surprised me because when we started, I thought our strength was supposed to be mission. Right? I thought we were going to be a group of people that were part of churches but wanted to do more mission. And so our strength was going to be mission. But our strength actually, based on you and your feedback, is community. Second, our weaknesses organizationally, and this is the big piece, our weaknesses organizationally are starting to actually hurt our ability to focus on community. Right? We, the leadership, have to focus so much on the week-to-week organizational weaknesses that those are starting to sap our ability to exercise and build opportunities for community. Right? I mean, you would think about this. When is the last time beyond like home group or Sunday morning we just got together as people? It's been a while. Right? And the reason is the organizational weaknesses are just screaming. And it's like an emergency room, right? If it bleeds, it leads. Right? And so you have to address it. So recently in our conversation, Stonebridge Church came to us with an opportunity that we think might help answer some of what we're facing. All right? So here's where you really dial in. Here's where you as Highlands, we need you. All right? They have offered to take on some of our organizational responsibilities from August through the end of this year. They're offering to do this for us in order to let us do two things. Focus on what makes us great, lean back into community, and hopefully, out of digging into our strength, build out better organizational structures. So that's going to mean a few things for us organizationally, again, under the hood, right? Most of those, here's what I'm going to tell you, most of those shouldn't affect, if we did this, most of those shouldn't affect you as part of Highlands, but one thing will. In order to pause the screaming, in order to pause the bleeding that's leading, we would want to shift how and when we meet. Not stop meeting, but refocus our meeting together for now around community specifically. And we haven't put the meat on the bones for that. Like, there's a lot of conversations that may feel vague. I'm going to let you guys ask questions in a minute because I think that'll probably help. We aren't 100% committed to this idea. What we do know is if we do it, we think it'll mean through the end of the year that we wouldn't meet at Sunday mornings and we wouldn't meet at Two Birds. Those are probably the two biggest things. We wouldn't meet on Sunday mornings, we wouldn't meet at Two Birds. We wouldn't stop meeting, but we wouldn't do those two things. Other than that, we want you to help inform and shape it. I asked our admin team, again, if you don't know who our admin team is, it's Mark Patterson, it's Amy Boyd, it's Brandon Land, and it's Nick Chinundit. I asked our admin team and their spouses to tell me when they felt as individuals at least 70% committed to this idea. Because I thought if we were at least 70% committed to this idea, then we need to start talking to you about it before we're 100%. Because we want to share it with you and give you time to ask questions, pray, and share your thoughts and concerns with us. So this week was when they all said, okay, we're 70% or more in. And so today is when we're sharing it. Today is that day. What better day than Mother's Day, right? No. It is Mother's Day. I have a weird Mother's Day question for you that I'm not going to make you ask each other. All right? How many of you think of anything when I say baby Jessica? Baby Jessica. Anybody remember baby Jessica? Who's baby Jessica?
The one who fell down the well.
Yeah, the baby that fell down the well. Right? Texas, I think, right? In 1987, a 2-year-old girl named Jessica McClure fell into a narrow well in Midland, Texas. And you need to understand, like, this is pre-24-hour news. This is like the country watching for 58 straight hours as rescue crews tried desperately to save her. Engineers failed, drills broke, plans were constantly changing. It became one of the first live early national news events that lasted continuously in American history. But one of the most powerful parts of the story wasn't any of that stuff. It was happening beneath it. You know what it was? It was mothers. Right? As firefighters, medics, and rescue workers rotated in and out exhausted, local moms were holding everything together in the community. They organized food lines. They brought blankets. They watched each other's children. They sat, all right, I'm going to go quicker, I guess. They sat with Jessica's mother.
To be out at 11.
Okay. All right, 2 minutes. They sat with Jessica's mother when cameras overwhelmed her. Churches opened buildings because women in the community started calling each other. Meals appeared without anyone assigning them. People who'd never met before began operating like family. One reporter later noted that the rescue site felt less like a disaster zone and more like a neighborhood gathering held together by women who refused to let anyone carry the burden alone. When rescuers finally pulled Jessica out alive, the nation celebrated the dramatic rescue. But many of the workers later said the emotional survival of the community happened because mothers created stability out of chaos. Right? There's something deeply human about that. When systems fail, community usually survives because somebody or some bodies keep caring in ordinary ways. Making food, remembering names, checking on people, calming fears, creating belonging, holding relationships together. Highlands, the more conversations I have with people about church and life, the more I'm seeing that systems are failing. People are struggling. The faster technology gets, the easier the tasks of life get, the lonelier, the more isolated and more anxious we all get. And the church is a city on a hill. And while we don't know what the future will bring, I'm becoming more convinced that the city isn't going to shine because of great preaching or great singing or great Sunday mornings. It's going to shine because it offers spirit-filled, soul and life-giving community. And we have that. But a city also needs a hill foundationally to stand on, a structure on which it can stand so people can see it. And this is what I think is a real chance for us to do both of those over the next 6 months. So I'm going to find out if we have to leave. If we do, we're going to move up. And I'm going to continue to take your questions. I want to hear from you guys. I wrapped that up pretty quick. I can talk more about that if you guys want, but I do believe that's true. I do believe that we have something really precious in terms of community, and I don't want it to get screamed down by some of our organizational pieces that are honestly things most of us here don't like to talk about, but they're real underlying things in terms of the health of the church. So yeah, ask your questions. Go ahead. This space for the next few weeks is about questions around this, thoughts, concerns, etc. What's up?
No, anybody who's gone to church for any length of time knows that usually it's cheating a lot of times from pastors or pastors' wives, whatever, that destroy a church. But I think the overall one that you are addressing is burnout. And that's and I'm not just talking about the pastor, we're talking about the people. I'm new here, but I see who's working. I know people are burned out. I know they are.
No, I think it's a good point, Mary. I think, hold on, I'll get you. I think it's a good point. I think one of the things that we are seeing is that even in our volunteer structure, what happens is that it is stretched thin. And so if one or two people are out, it really affects us dramatically and keeps us from being able to offer things that are important in terms of building community. So I think it's a good point. Yeah, Jane.
I just want to say that I'm not burnt out whatsoever. In fact, I want to do more and more.
What's that?
I want to do more and more.
Yeah,
I'm not
absolutely.
burnt out at all.
I know.
I'm certainly not. In fact, I'm on fire.
Yeah, no, I hear you. But some of that is we're watching out for each other. I felt great until I didn't. And thankfully I had people around me who could said, you got to hit the pause. So, yeah.
So what are the organizational pieces they'll be taking?
Yeah, so they're going to take over isn't correct, right? So they are going to allow us to bring financial concerns underneath them, and they're going to backstop financial concerns for us for that 6-month period. So if we run into things where we can't pay for needs in our community, they're going to cover that. They are going to help us take time to examine what our goals are in terms of things like children and youth and even sort of long-term growth or stability, and volunteer structure and how we arrange volunteer structure. So they're gonna just help speak into that. Is somebody running away? Okay. I'm trying to think of other specific things. Admin team, if you're here and I'm leaving out things we've talked about, share. I'm trying to think of other specific things they'll take on organizationally. But yeah, I think that's it. Most of it is going to be they are going to partner with us for filling gaps organizationally that we have right now, with an eye towards looking at why we have those gaps and if those gaps are fixable. Is that good? Okay, cool. If you're like, are they going to do this, this, or this? I can answer those questions as well. Yeah. What else? Anybody? I did such a good job explaining it. You guys you're dumbfounded with amazement. Other questions? Other concerns? I'll say this one thing, and I hope I've explained this well, but one sensitivity we had in this conversation, and even we've expressed it really clearly to Stonebridge, and they have affirmed it, is that we didn't want you guys to think any part of us is asking you to go to or be a part of Stonebridge, or telling you that ultimately what we would want to come out of this with is some sort of Stonebridge structure. That's not what they're asking. we're in relationship with them. We're not a franchise. Does that make sense? Like, we're not trying to make church, right? And they're not asking us to. And they're not asking anybody from here, really. They're asking for interaction with our leadership and with me. But they're not asking anybody from here to be like, yeah, now you're part of Stonebridge. That's not what we're doing. They were really clear that they want Highlands identity and Highlands as a people to remain in place during this time. So we're not coming under the umbrella in that way of Stonebridge. Does that make sense? So I just want to make sure that's clear, because along the way, as we've talked about this, that has been a little bit of a concern for people, especially Arden. She's mentioned it a lot. What else? Questions, concerns, thoughts? I know this is
Well, you
early.
mentioned not meeting Sunday mornings, so what's the alternative?
Yeah, so there's multiple reasons for moving off Sunday mornings. Part of it is this feeling of like, there's been a lot of mixed metaphors used, but maybe the idea that's probably best is like, it's hard to work on the boat while you're rowing it. And so a little bit of like, if we keep doing what we're doing on Sunday mornings, but also try to fix things, we're not going to be able to have time to work on what's going on. So that's one reason to move off of Sunday mornings, to kind of get us out of just the hamster wheel. Another reason is to sort of like say to us, we're going to get off the hamster wheel for a few minutes and move more into what I would say is community focus during our gatherings together. So I know you guys think we're not structured, but it'd be a little less structured. It would be more us spending time together, us talking about the church together. That's what we're asking you to commit to, us eating together and enjoying informal time together. What I've found for me, I'll be honest with you guys, is I spend so much time right now just trying to make sure we're hitting the marks from Sunday to Sunday, that I feel like I haven't really spent time with you guys, just as people, in a long time. And I miss it, and I want that. And so some of the ideas, again, we don't have meat on the bones yet. We want you guys to inform that. But, I mean, we've talked about a Sunday afternoon meeting, a Sunday evening meeting, mostly based around a meal, probably incorporating worship and prayer in different times. I'm still me, so we're still going to talk about the Bible, but we'll probably talk about it more in terms of like, what is God telling us about who we are and what we need to do, and to be more conversational. Service will still happen. That is kind of I'll die on the hill of service. Like, I feel so confident about it. So that will still be a part of what we did once a month. I see it. I'll come to you. But day, time, we want to hear from you guys on that, because we don't want to upset your schedules. We want to make sure that it is accessible to Highlands people as it can be, because it's really about us being together. I think you'll see a lot of it this summer. I think you'll see a lot of the form it takes this summer while I'm gone, and then hopefully I'll just step back in. If, again, like I said, we're 70% here. We haven't made any commitments. These are just the things that I'm thinking about and some of the discussions I'm having. Does that help at all? Yeah. But I think everything else that doesn't feel like a Sunday morning worship service, part of the reason Sunday morning, so I said there's multiple reasons. One thing is Stonebridge wants me to come preach there once a month as a part of this, and they want their people to be more exposed to what we're doing. And their feeling is their people can be more exposed to what they're doing, at least initially, if they don't feel like they're having to choose between going to Stonebridge on Sunday morning and coming and visiting what Highlands is doing. Does that make sense too? Yeah. So that's good. What were you going to ask, Gene?
So I'm not clear on.
Yeah, it's good. Me neither.
So we're meeting every Sunday still?
We will meet. We don't know. We would shift our time.
Starting when?
And this would be starting in August. We would shift our time, and we would shift our location. We wouldn't meet at Two Birds during this time, because part of it is Two Birds feels like it's pulling away right now from being able to focus on community, not pulling us towards it. And so we would meet at Two Birds. We haven't talked about where we would meet. It would be minimal cost, if not zero. And it would be a place where we were just allowed. We didn't have to come in and do a bunch of stuff. We could just show up and be together.
So we have no idea of what location. yet.
Not yet. We have ideas, but nothing concrete because, like I said, we want you guys to inform that because our primary concern, and Stonebridge knows this in these interactions, and they've again affirmed it. Our primary concern is caring for you and this being best for you, because I'm not Highlands. Our leadership team is not Highlands. Like, this is Highlands, and so we need to be doing this together if we're going to do it right. So yeah. So hopefully that's something, not hopefully, we will develop that. If we say yes to this, then we will start to ask you guys questions this summer. We will develop that and we will come up with an initial plan for this fall.
I say yes.
Okay, that's great.
I was just going to say,
Yeah,
I have a big enough space in my neighborhood. 20 people could park along the street and it's not an issue. So,
That's good.
I mean, so.
It's good to know. Thank
You
you.
could use
Yeah.
my house too. It'd be the basement, but
Yeah,
it's
no, we
still
appreciate it. Again, like we're going to try to examine it in terms of what we think provides the least amount of hustle and bustle and the most amount of let's just come together and be the church. So yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. And we'll take all of those suggestions for sure. What else? Yeah, Deanna.
I don't know if this is a question or more of like a thought to ponder.
Please.
But, like, we did all of the Sundays where we talked about like our gifts,
Yeah.
spiritual gifts, and we haven't really done,
Yeah.
as far as I know, haven't
Yeah.
really done a ton
Yeah.
of that. And so I wonder, especially with like the
I love
organizational
it.
part, is there like an opportunity to kind of delegate more
I
in
love
terms
it.
of like
Yeah.
those of us who are not on admin
Yeah.
team don't
Yeah.
necessarily know what
Yeah.
that means. And so this would be an opportunity to like open it up so that if we do have that strength or whatever,
Yeah.
that could be a way to.
Yeah, I love it. I think that is great. I love that you said it. I love that you were thinking it. It is one of the pieces for me that made me realize coming out of that, we had a lot of hopes of what we were going to do with that. But again, the organizational week to week just started to scream at us, and that got pushed to the side. And so this is part of that, and I think that's going to be a huge part of coming out of it. Is, yeah, I don't want you guys to think by doing this, we're saying we're going to keep organizational stuff over here and you're going to be Highlands over here. The hope is what's happening here that's really, really good will start to better inform what's happening here so that it can last long term. And that's a little bit of, I think, what you're talking about, which is like bring who we are, not who we thought we were going to be, into informing the structures and the organizational side, because you guys have gifts that we need to use. Absolutely. Thank you for saying that. Somebody else. Yeah. Anybody else for right now? We wanted to talk to you about this as soon as we felt like it was leaning that way, because in 2 more Sundays I'm out for a sabbatical, and we wanted to make sure, we want to decide this before I leave, because we want us all to know what's going to go, not all the details, but whether or not we want to grab hold of this proposal by Stonebridge, what we're concerned about, what we want to make sure on our side is written into any agreement. They don't take, I will tell you guys this, what they're asking for us right now doesn't grab any like authority over Highlands. It really is just an invitation to help and suggestions. If we were gonna agree to something that gave them some sort of organizational or financial authority over Highlands, we would talk to you guys about it before. None of this does that. This is a relational opportunity that they're offering us. But we want to decide if we're leaning that way, or we want to decide if we want to do that before I leave, so that we're not springing anything on you guys while I'm not in the conversation or right after I get back. Does that make sense? Okay. So, yeah.
I'm just feeling a little sad about this. I don't want to break up our church.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's-
yeah.
I want more than anything to become together. More.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what we're aiming at, right? And I'll tell you, like, at first, I appreciate you saying it. It's interesting. I think that this is a really, if I'm honest with you guys, I wouldn't do it if I didn't. But if I'm honest with you guys, I think it's a really neat opportunity that most churches in our position do not get, to to recenter around some things. And I'm super hopeful for it. We were having a conversation with, I won't name this person, but I've had conversations with admin team members and spouses, and I left one of them this week, and they were like, I'm excited. I feel good about it. I'm encouraged. And I feel that way. At the same time, Gene, I want to say, that's the goal of this, is to say, what does it mean for us not to just slowly break apart, but to strengthen and grow? And at the same time, I will tell you, every time I have a conversation about this with somebody, I get a little sad. Because you do grieve losses, right? And this would mean a turning point for us, at least for a little while, in some specific ways. Now, here's the truth. If we get to the end of this time period and what comes out of it as us, as our gifts and our callings and all of your thoughts, and we end up doing all of the same things, all the same pieces of Highlands stay the same, then so be it. I'm fine with that. I just want to make sure that this is who we are. But at the same time, I know that that's not necessarily going to be the case. And I do grieve those losses. Like, I sat with Kelsey Lickman a few weeks ago and talked to her about this, Kelsey at Two Birds. And while we both understand that kind of this is what this looks like for this time period, and Kelsey and I are friends and are connected regardless really of the structures of the churches, we were both sad. We both grieved that, not getting to see each other every week. You know, not getting to naturally ask her about her life and things like that. I don't think our relationship to Two Birds is done. I think we're still, you know, some of these things into the fall, I think we'll end up doing things with them as a result that makes sense for us. But there's grief in that. So I hear you, is what I want to say.
I think anytime there's change, it's scary.
Anytime there's change, there is scariness, there is uncertainty, there's grief. And I think it's okay for everybody to feel all those things and be honest about it. Like, I think that's great. And I want you to share with me. I want you guys to know I love you. Our team loves you. The biggest point of conversation we've had around any of this is y'all. And making sure we're caring for you.
I just want to go stronger and
Absolutely.
more together instead of.
That's the hope. That is I think our goal in this. I don't think our goal. That is our goal in this. Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Questions, concerns? Here's what I want to say. Last thing, I won't take any more questions after I say this, if you have them. Last thing I want to say is some of you are like, I ain't doing it. I'm not talking to you in this group. I've got concerns. I've got fears, whatever. That's okay. Please share them. If you don't trust me enough or feel like we're relationally strong enough to talk about them, then share them with somebody else here who can share them. Something we've said again and again in our conversations right now is that if we're going to do something like this, like, let's do it. And let's ask all the hard questions. Let's ask all the uncomfortable questions. Let's ask all the questions that we're whispering about but not talking about. And like, let's do it. Let's not go through the grief or the uncertainty and not experience the benefit of growth that comes out of a time like this. So please, 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 if this is not the space where you're going to do it, make a fake email address and email me anonymously if that will help. I'm serious. I know that sounds funny, but I'm serious. If that will help you share it, I want to know everything before we do this. So please, please, please share this. Before we wrap up, has anybody who has not had a chance to ask a question or to say something that they have as a concern, anybody who's not had a chance to say something, have anything to say? You guys know, like, we're trying to think not about the next 6 months of Highlands. We're trying to think about the next 6 years of Highlands. We're trying to think about the next 16 years of Highlands. We're trying to think, I'm going to be done after that. So you guys have to think beyond that. But that's what we're thinking about. So let's pray. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you guys taking extra time, especially moms who need to get to places. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for these people. Thank you for Highlands. Thank you for this opportunity. Lord, thank you for Stonebridge. Thank you for even their care for us and concern for us to step in and say, hey, we want to help. And God, I pray whatever comes out of this, that we would just do it well, that we would embrace our values. God, that we would believe that it's the Spirit that transforms us. And so we would ask you for your guidance. God, that we would do this as the family of God. People who are brothers and sisters in a family who are able to have hard conversations and able to stay together through those hard conversations. God, I pray that we would be able to engage relationally around this and grow as your disciples. And I pray that all of this would be a way to take our city and put it on a strong hill so that our community and the ways we connect with each other and relate to each other and love each other through you and in you could be a light to others who are lonely and isolated and anxious and don't know what to do. I ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.